Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking exactly what it takes to be the architect of a 21st century classroom. We're talking about a space where management isn't just about, rigid control, but about creating an environment where students genuinely feel safe, supported, and actually ready to learn. So if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by classroom dynamics, don't worry, you are in the right place. We're going to demystify this whole process together. All right, here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The purpose of rules. 2. 3. Classroom environments. 3. Respecting needs and boundaries. 4. Managing mistakes and behavior. 5. Nurturing student personalities. And finally, 6. Your role as manager.
Section 1. The purpose of rules. Why do we actually establish them in the first place?
Want to kick things off by challenging a really common misconception. A lot of people think rules are basically just there to make the teacher's life easier, right? But the reality is quite different. Rules are not primarily for the teacher's convenience. Instead, they actually provide student security and a much-needed sense of discipline. You see, children aren't naturally contrary or disobedient. They actually thrive when they know exactly what's acceptable and what isn't. It's like giving them a safe map to navigate the day.
So here's the crucial point. Positive classroom environments, they literally don't just happen by accident. Classroom management is a core ingredient of effective teaching. It requires deliberate, consistent effort to create a climate that's truly conducive to student success. You are actively architecting this space every single day.
Moving right along to Section 2. 3 classroom environments. These are the absolute foundations of learning.
We can break down the foundational setup of your classroom into 3 completely distinct pillars. First up is the physical environment, literally how your physical space is arranged. Second is the temporal environment, which deals with how you allocate time and seamlessly manage those tricky transitions between subjects. And third is the affective environment, referring to the psychological climate of safety and security that's created by you, the teacher.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the explicit link between that first pillar, the physical space, and student behavior. It turns out the physical structure isn't just about aesthetics. It actively dictates how children act within it. It's a total game changer when you realize your room layout is actually managing behavior for you.
For example, think about this very practical spatial rule. It is not advisable to put long pathways in the classroom because it invites children to run. That makes perfect sense, right? It's a brilliantly simple illustration of how poor physical design directly creates behavioral problems. By breaking up the space thoughtfully, you're managing the behavior before it even has a chance to start.
Section 3. Respecting needs and boundaries. Let's talk about fostering mutual respect.
Getting into the day-to-day realities of actually interacting with your students, we have to start with mutual respect. Children need the exact same respect that adults expect from one another. Things like making negative comments, yelling at students, or using sarcasm, those instantly destroy trust. The solution is straightforward, though. Show children that you genuinely care. Replacing yelling and sarcasm with visible care is absolutely the first step to fostering a respectful, reciprocal relationship with your class. And this builds directly into how you handle that natural, wiggly, squirmy energy that kids always bring to the classroom. They are absolute bundles of physical, emotional, and creative energy, and let's be honest, sometimes that can be really tough to tolerate in large group settings.
To manage all that energy constructively, you really need specific strategies in your toolkit. You've got to plan a variety of choices in the classroom, organize large chunks of time dedicated purely to play, allow quiet time for individual work, and of course, encourage collaborative group experiences. When you actively meet these varied energy needs, their behavior naturally remains much more appropriate and totally conducive to learning.
Section 4. Managing mistakes and behavior. Because things won't always go perfectly.
Because look, no matter how beautifully you plan your physical space or respect their energy, inevitable accidents and outbursts are gonna happen. Imagine this highly relatable scenario. Franklin's cry suddenly startled the whole room. His teacher immediately fears he's seriously hurt, right? But running over, they quickly discover he had just spilled a jar of paint all over the floor. This little anecdote brilliantly illustrates exactly how we should react. By simply remaining calm, reacting with genuine concern rather than blowing up in anger, and actually helping young preschoolers clean up the mess, we teach them healthy, positive attitudes about daily mishaps. We teach them that mistakes, they're just a normal part of living. No big deal. But, what happens when the issue isn't an innocent accident, but a full-blown behavioral outburst?
Contrast Franklin's paint spill with this dramatic moment overheard from a student named Marissa in the home living center. "Stop that right now. You're in big trouble and I'm going to whip your butt." That is quite the hostile approach to conflict for a young child, isn't it?
And this is exactly where your role in modeling steps into the spotlight. As teachers, we have to consistently model and teach appropriate social expectations to replace that hostile approach we just heard from Marissa. Instead, we show kindness and sympathy. We actively teach them to ask for items instead of just grabbing them, to politely greet visitors, and to step up and help new children learn the ropes. Sure, it takes time, but consistent instruction like this is what creates a truly harmonious classroom.
Section 5. Nurturing student personalities, providing that crucial emotional support.
This really dives deep into the emotional reality of young children. Remember, they're still just in the process of learning how to control their big feelings. Students desperately need teachers who feel entirely comfortable holding and soothing them when those emotions inevitably bubble over. It's all about providing a safe harbor so they can learn to approach their problems realistically.
So here's how that actually looks in action. If a child is hurt, you show them some genuine, tender, loving care. If they're confused, hold them close and talk gently to figure out the root of the problem. If they're frightened, comfort them and talk openly about what's scaring them. By walking through these direct, actionable responses, you're teaching children that problems can be tackled head-on and that occasionally some difficult situations simply must be accepted and worked through.
Finally, Section 6, your role as manager. It all comes back to your mindset.
Let's wrap this up by focusing on your internal mindset and ongoing professional growth. Because remember, classroom management, it is a continuous, ongoing process. The guidance of young children requires just immense patience, and consistency is the absolute key to making it all work. Most importantly, though, you have to view your own mistakes positively. Teachers and children are both going to have bad days. That's just human nature. Taking responsibility for your own slip-ups and correcting them out loud models absolutely fantastic behavior for your students. Which leads us to our final thought for this explainer. I really want to leave you with this provocative question to chew on. After unpacking all these principles, are you now prepared and ready to assume your role as an effective classroom manager? And more importantly, why do you say so? It's something to deeply consider as you step into the role of the true 21st century classroom architect. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time.